L. Parker goes to UCLA. CL drop physics. And dash into history. L's expedition leads to Riverside, where he discovers his manifest destiny. Had history been different, L. Parker would not be at Riverside City College. But in this case, history is an ally, and today's students are the beneficiaries. Parker entered UCLA as a science major. It was the only way he could qualify for a National Defense Education Act loan. Physics changed to a degree in political science, but a chance encounter with renowned UCLA historian Donald B. Meyer set Parker on his true path.
He spoke to me and a group of other students one day, staring at me, and asked me some questions. What was my name? And I fumbled it, and what are you doing here? And I didn't know what that meant either. And he said, your major? And I said, political science. And he said, why? And I said, well, and before I could finish, he just looked at me and said, switch to history, and walked away. Well, what could I do?
After 3.5 years in graduate school, the newly minted history instructor sent resumes throughout the western U.S. The one job he wanted, the one job he accepted, was here at RCC.
I came straight out of UCLA. I'd applied for jobs all over the western states. I got a few interviews, got an invitation to come to RCC, was hired and told my wife that I was only going to stay 1 year, that we were going to get out of Southern California. At the end of 1 year, I went back to her and said, would you mind staying in Riverside? Because I love my job. I love this institution, and that's the truth. At the end of 1 year, I knew this was where I wanted to be, and I've never regretted it.
Once again, Parker's instincts proved reliable.
On the opening day of that semester, attended my first small session group discussion class where I had 25 students of my own. I went in there, spent an hour with those students, and I walked out, and I knew immediately, this is what I must do with my life, absolutely.
Today, 40 years later, Parker is still teaching the subject he loves, and he teaches it in a way that is uniquely his.
In U.S. history, colonial social history was my strong point, and I've never really lost that. I still teach my history classes with a very strong social rather than a political or an economic orientation. My courses are strong on getting my students to take a look at what real people's lives are like in the 1600s, the 1700s, the 1800s. What were women doing? What were men? What were blacks? What were Native American Indians going through? So the social component is important to me.
Considered a masterful teacher, Parker has received many honors, including his selection as the college's distinguished faculty lecturer in 1987. But it wasn't always so. Once, he says, early in his career,
this student raised her hand one day and said, Mr. Parker, what are you trying to do? Bore me to death? And of course, other students began to speak up right away, defending me. They were embarrassed about they tried to shush her up. And I said, no, let's talk about that. I said, because the answer is no. That's not what I'm trying to do. It may be what I am doing, but it's not what I'm trying to do. So let's talk about what I can do differently that won't have that effect. What I took away from that was a simple question. Do I know the information that I want to communicate to my students, or don't I? If I do, throw the notes out, walk in that room bare, and then raise a question.
Parker also credits many RCC colleagues with helping him grow as a teacher, and his ties to the college are grounded most strongly in the Quad, where he not only has taught for much of his career, but last year married Kim Metcalf. What better setting for two longtime RCC teachers to start a new chapter? Good teachers, Parker says, realize that teaching, like life, is a dance of adjustments. One method doesn't work for all students, and every student doesn't take away the same knowledge from a class.
But probably the single most important thing that I really push in my classes is that at the end of my class, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 6 months later, if you've forgotten almost every single specific historical piece of information, but have learned how to write and express yourself more effectively, if you've learned how to think more clearly, to use evidence to argue a point, to support your ideas, if you can do that but have forgotten the specifics of history, I'm a happy man.
Tonight, we are proud to celebrate Associate Professor L. Parker as this year's recipient of the Faculty Award for Teaching Excellence.